So welcome back from the break, guys, and welcome to the Security NGS breakout. This will be the last breakout of this year's Imagine, and certainly hope that you've enjoyed the event so far. So the next hour, an hour and 20 minutes or so, I'm delighted to be joined by three leading vendor technology experts. Firstly, we have Yofi from Palo Alto Networks. We have Jacques from F5 Networks. And we have Maurice from Skybot Security. So, gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for your contribution today. Thank you for your participation and, of course, the partnership with Westcon that continues to flourish. So, as mentioned, we're going to run this session up to time. So we've got about an hour and 15. There will be an opportunity to put your questions and comments in the text chat. As always, we will endeavour to answer some of those during this session. If for whatever reason that we can't, then we will obviously, as part of the follow-up after the event has concluded, we will follow up with all of those unanswered questions. So it gives me great pleasure to bring Yofi to the stage. Yofi, whenever you're ready, come and join me, and I'll pass over to you.
All right, Ildo, thank you very much, and I hope everyone has enjoyed Imagine so far. I know these are the last sessions, and hopefully you'll get everything out of it that you could possibly hope. So I have a few slides to go over, a little bit of an introduction to myself. So I hope you can see my slides there. So let's dive straight in. So my name is Yofi Inja, and I am the EMEA manager for business development, for EMEA at Palo Alto. And what I want to do initially really is just briefly share with you, for those who aren't up to speed on who Palo Alto is and where we sit within the market. I just want to share you a few elements regarding the health of Palo Alto Networks business. So over the course of the COVID pandemic, our share price has gone from around $200 to almost $600. That's a roughly 150% growth, with a market cap of around 60 billion. Now, our last quarter in Q2, we experienced around 30% growth globally in total billings, and our market share of our core business is actually growing up 22%, where we've seen declines in the market. All of this really means, and a little bit of the summary, it comes down to we are currently the largest pure play cybersecurity vendor in the world, and something that we're extremely proud of. I mean, not only are we proud of it, but it shows to see that our platform, we're within the top 95 of the top 100 Fortune 100s. We're the number one enterprise security vendor out there with 77,000 customers globally. So, but from a channel perspective, we've also received multiple awards and are at the top right when looking at the Canalys channel champions. So that's the standard, who we are, the pitch and everything. But let's dive into a little bit more deeply into why you're really here. So I believe, anyways, that when we start having a conversation around security, that must start with zero trust. And you've heard about zero trust, I'm sure, and there's always questions on how that impacts you, how they'll impact your customers, and where the market is actually going. Because the truth is, zero trust as a concept has actually been around for quite some time, and it's become increasingly top of mind. In May, you may have heard, the federal government in the US issued an executive order instructing, basically the overall federal government to move towards a zero trust architecture. There have been many announcements even over the last couple of weeks around that and how organizations need to look. So it's not only the federal government in the US, but globally, where organizations are looking to what it means and how they can then address those concerns. This is a direct response to the need for a security model that more closely fits both our modern infrastructure and the changing threat landscape. Currently, many organizations are examining how to actually implement these best practices, including where to prioritize. So why zero trust now? Well, for you, it's really quite simple. There's a disparate point solutions that we see in the market today. So every time a new security risk is highlighted, we race to deploy new tools and new technologies. And thus you're seeing that there's a lot of new endpoint solutions within the market. What this has done is this created a large amount of complexity based on, frankly, poorly integrated point solutions. And the opportunity, I think, for you and definitely in this market is around how digital transformation, right? So digital transformation really is driving the need for a more strategic approach to security. And zero trust is, a modern security framework that kind of fits with that transformation. So what is it? Simply, zero trust is removing implicit trust regardless of what the situation is. So no matter who the user is, no matter where the user is, no matter what application they're trying to access, I'm going to do this in the most strict possible way. So continuous validation at every stage of a digital interaction. The added advantage of this is simplicity. You're essentially running the same security regardless of the situation. So the opportunity, and I think this is where we get a little bit into the meats. So the opportunity sits around network transformation, data center migration to the cloud, and SecOps transformation as well. Zero trust can be the guiding principle for securing these new environments. Right? So taking this modern, more holistic approach reduces complexity, security sprawl caused by, a myriad of point solutions. So this is what we would say at Palo Alto is the zero trust enterprise. Now, at this point, what I'm want to do is really dive a little bit deeper into what it means to become a zero trust enterprise, including some of the key considerations that you should take and the best practices that we've seen and a few of the security tools required. So zero trust really is it's a great approach to security, but many organizations struggle to put it into practice, including where to prioritize. At Palo Alto, we're working to make zero trust actionable for our customers and really are focused on 3 pillars. First, we look at the users. We can't assume anything about the user based on where they are, etc. As a general rule, users and their identities are a great place to start when thinking about zero trust. Next, we apply zero trust applications. We can't trust and cannot trust various components of applications. And at last, the infrastructure. Everything from IoT to supply chain, these must be addressed from a zero trust standpoint. So this approach provides a holistic and consistent approach to zero trust that can be made actionable across 3 of these key domains: users, applications, infrastructure. There are many companies in the security industry focused on addressing a subset of these, thus our point solutions, but are unable to comprehensively deliver across a full spectrum for zero trust. This is where organization with a broad portfolio comes into the picture, like such as Palo Alto. Now, let's briefly touch on what we call our 3 platform strategy. We have network transformation, cloud native security, and your SecOps. So security operation center automation. These are designed modularly so that our customers can decide which element they start their Palo Alto Networks journey on, and then look to expand across other platforms in line with their plans. So if you remember the previous slide, let's move this forward and slot in those 3, right? Again, all across the user's application infrastructure, but then looking at identity, device workload, access, and transaction. So Palo Alto Networks is uniquely positioned to deliver through our broad set of best-of-breed security capabilities. We're able to deliver across the users, applications, infrastructure, as I mentioned, with the exception of enterprise identity and access management, where we integrate, well, with any solution of choice of you or your customers. An example of an IAM would be, let's say, Okta. Right? So you really see, we, with our portfolio, we actually span the whole breadth. Now, one of the things that organizations have to do is they must assume a nation state level attack sophistication. Now, in the past, you would say, well, that's highly complicated for various threat actors to be able to implement. But unfortunately, in today's day and age, certain tools are readily available. And because of that, the sophistication that's available to the daily, say, hacker is right up there. So we must assume that they have the capability at the same level as a nation state attack. Now, what is the opportunity here for you? Well, there are three fundamental trends in the market today that need to be addressed and present that opportunity. The first, the accelerated migration to cloud and digital transformation. The second, the exponential increase in cyber threats across an increasing number of attack surfaces. And the third, a lack of skills, which we see in the cybersecurity market today. Palo Alto's technology would give you the opportunity to help your customers to be more secure with your business operations and deliver the business outcomes you need and they need. And it starts with innovation, staying ahead of the curve at all times. And yeah, I guess that is why we believe at Palo Alto that innovation never sleeps. And to show you that in the investments that we've been making and will continue to make, I think it's key in what you see here is that Palo Alto's networks strategy is innovation. It is the fuel of our growth of our business. In H1, so the first half of FY22, we had 22 major product releases. That is equal to the whole of FY20, what we did in FY20. Even more impressive is that Q2 for us marked the end of integrations. Now, what that means is that all our products are now seamlessly integrated and can now have organic growth with them. Because of that, we've won various new industry recognition awards and are now leaders in over 10 categories. But diving a little bit more into that technology, what you see here is a traditional network, how traditional network security would stop attacks, right? So previously, most attacks could be detected based on signatures. At the time, this approach worked most of the time because the attacks tended to be variants of others, and net new attacks were rare. So net new attacks were analyzed offline using various methods, including machine learning. The problem with this approach is that it doesn't protect day zero attacks. By the time offline analysis returns the verdict, the first user is already a victim. This is the approach what most of our competitors take today and what we see in the market. And Palo Alto has worked hard to actually change that. So here's how we've reshaped machine learning for the next generation firewall. What we do now is we run deep learning on live traffic. We reconfigured the processing architecture through a special collaboration with a chip manufacturer to gain a 6x performance improvement in deep learning computation. This allows us to do that deep learning on live traffic, right? We architectured a unique ultra-low latency global cloud infrastructure to send data to the cloud, get protections back everywhere, from on-prem appliances to software firewalls to cloud-delivered SASE. So it really does not matter what form factor that your customers choose or you choose, be it hardware, software, or cloud-delivered. We're able to do that machine learning on live traffic in time. So where does this bring us? We've recently launched Nebula, which is our latest operating system. And what we really believe is what we've done is we've moved we've moved forward in the world. We've moved the whole world into what we call the new world, one previously that we thought was unattainable. Where can we use? Deep learning, for one, for advanced evasive threat detection. We needed to harness the power of massive, advanced deep learning modules as the key to detecting advanced and unknown attacks. We know it works, from self-driving cars to network security. Deep learning has quickly become a critical technology for solving these hard classification problems. We work on real traffic, so the threat cannot be hidden. The only way this amazing technology can reliably detect attacks is seeing the actual attack traffic as it unfolds, not just analyzing the data from web crawlers or emulated sandbox data. We run in line so prevention can occur at the initial victim no longer has to be sacrificed for the greater good. Because previously that's what happened. The first victim was in fact sacrificed for that greater good, but now that no longer needs to happen. Now, of course, in order to do all of this, it needs to be very fast. And that is the challenge to making the new approach a reality. And that is something that we have worked extremely hard on. So coming towards a little bit towards the end of my presentation, I want to discuss a few tools that would help you, if you were to perform a successful migration. These tools help you along your journey with Palo Alto. So the first, we have our SLRs. These are our security lifestyle reviews, and it's a free cyber threat assessment tool giving you visibility into vulnerabilities, threats, and risks. The second is Expedition, which assists you to automate migration from a competitor's firewall to Palo Alto Networks firewall. The third tool we call Iron Skillet. Now, this tool helps you build and deploy configuration policies, including day one configurations. We all know that configuration issues are one of the main causes for hacks. This is a great tool to help deploy the right security configuration for the right use case. And finally, our best practice assessments, BPA, is a tool to help adhere and measure configuration and policies to security's best practices. As I mentioned, all these tools are freely available to our partners and our customers. But not only that, when we take a step further, we make sure that we share that information. So just calling out, for instance, we have various webinars coming up. One of them is this one here. We'll have our founder, Nir Zook, our chief product officer, and our CMO, Kevin Dunbar. And it's around stopping zero-day threats. Get to understand the new security, get to get the various updates on advanced URL and DNS, etc. So if you have the time, please do join. Now, to summarize everything in one go, from a customer perspective, there's this acceleration in digital transformation. Everything from how employees innovate, operate, and maintain, and you need to be able to maintain your business continuity. The issue, as I called, more remote users, rapid cloud deployments, advanced cyber criminals means all equals more sophisticated attacks. What are these results? Security teams are wading through multiple alerts, breach after breach, and they're unable to respond to everything. And that must become a thing of the past. The market overall, an opportunity for you. So the total addressable market, according to Gartner, is up in the region of 73 billion this year by 2022. The solution, obviously, for us seems clear: an integrated security platform that delivers best-in-breed visibility, flexibility, and automation to provide protection from the endpoint across the network and into the cloud. We have everything with our portfolio as you and your customers transform their models. The provider, obviously, is somebody who's empowering partners like yourself to deliver the most comprehensive cybersecurity portfolio to protect our digital way of life. And we believe that is Palo Alto Networks. All right. Thank you very much. Neil, back to you.
Jesse, lovely. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate your time, and obviously from first-hand experience, what a great support that you've been to Westcon and our partners already in the time that you've been with Paolo. So thank you very much, sir. I see nothing in the chat and comment section so far. If we perhaps will move on to Jacques from F5.
Yes, thank you, Neil, and thank you everybody for joining this session. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Jacques Postumus. I'm a senior solution engineer at F5. Been at F5 for about 10 years. And welcome to the session. So we're the second last, I think. All are tired. So let's start. Just a little bit of background about F5, where we started and the journey. Most probably all of you are aware that F5 started as a load balancing company where customers needed to build this digital experience across websites. We had to create some load balancers to distribute the load and monitor these applications and optimize the backends. Then we moved into application delivery controllers, and that was the next phase in the F5 journey. And what I'm going to take you to the next phase of F5 is where we're really moving into a multi-cloud application and security delivery company, and how we assist our customers in this journey going forward, utilizing some of these services. In a application environment, you can typically see certain elements that is required to deliver application services or business logic to an end user. Some examples of that could be a web application firewall. There might be an application server itself. There might be some ingress controllers required for Kubernetes environments or OpenShift environments. And as Geoffrey mentioned before, zero trust or secure access types of measurements, and then denial of service. And there's a few of these elements that is required to deliver applications to the end user. Now, these applications needs to be very agile, and some of these applications are modern applications, like microservices types of applications, and some are still traditional applications. So we do have a mix between monolithic applications or traditional applications, and as the organizations move their applications into microservices, these needs to be protected and delivered in a secure manner, and how we can deliver that. As these applications are evolving and becoming more complex in their delivery, we see that we're adding more API capabilities into our applications. So from a traditional back-end and front-end type of environment, we're moving more in a complex environment where these applications are distributed across different platforms. We're adding more web API type of capabilities. So, for example, an e-commerce site might have still a web front end for the people to do orders. We might need to add mobile applications for these. And there's a lot of API calls happening in the back end. And most probably they will have a third-party integration, like say Swift or banking, to make these applications so that you can pay for whatever you ordered. And this is all evolving, and this becomes very complex for the customers. So with this increase of complexity, obviously the risk is higher, because since we're deploying these applications on premise or in your own data center, and you do evolve some of your applications into microservices and you deploy it into the cloud, whichever the cloud might be, you need to make sure that you don't expose your risk of these applications wherever they are. And that becomes very difficult for some of the customers to achieve. And as this application moves, you might find that some of these cloud providers offer you different sets on their platforms, and so you might move some of your services closer to the edge on those cloud providers, or you might use some type of utility or something that they have that they are very known for, so you want to deploy that type of application in that cloud provider. Now, with this all, it is becoming very difficult for the security and the NetOps people to get the visibility that the way that they understand the visibility, and it also exposes the risk of getting a bigger footprint into the cloud environment. So how do we say that if a specific security expert doesn't know how cloud provider A works, do we need to train him for cloud provider B? How do we get the visibility? How does he make sure that whatever he applies to those cloud environments can be applied to the next cloud provider? And these are all things that becomes complex for customers when they move to multi-cloud environments. The biggest challenge that we see some of our customers have in these distributed cloud environments is that how do they get the visibility that they require out of these cloud providers? So they might use different tool sets for different cloud providers, and the NetOps and the SecOps staff and engineers might use different tools again. So there's different tools to get something out of a cloud provider so that they can have the end-to-end visibility to see what is happening on the application. And this is becoming a challenge for a majority of the customers. The next thing that the challenge is for security. Now, if we look at applications, the DevOps team is under increasing pressure to publish new applications, to deliver new code so that the applications can be up and running. They need to be very agile. They need to deliver it fast. New services, new go-to-market campaigns. And what we noticed is sometimes the NetOps and the SecOps teams are falling behind, and the footprint of the risk of the security from the application point of view is falling behind, and sometimes it feels like they are the bottleneck for the DevOps team to deliver these applications at the pace. This brings me to what is important for our customers. So they need a protection. So the SaaS type of environment, they need a protection against bots and automation types of fraud. They need to scale. They need to deploy some of the services in any type of environment. They need the flexibility to have visualization of what is happening at the application, what's happening at the network layer. They need a security solution that they can easily scale and deploy these applications anywhere, making sure that it's protected. They need to have a cost-effective and efficient tool to manage all these applications. They also need this tools to make sure that if there's a balloon coming in of requests, maybe they're deploying a new special on a travel destination. So there's lots of requests coming in, and they need to make sure that they can scale out, and they need to make sure that the security is handled in that increase of traffic volumes. They need to make sure that it simplifies the management of all this from a holistic point of view. And that is what we see most of our customers want and what they asking for. This brings me to web as a service. And F5 is addressing this market with a SaaS offering, which we call web. And this is part of our distributed cloud platform. Now, as you can recall, or maybe you're not aware of it, so a few months and years ago, we acquired a company called Volterra, and we acquired a company called Shape. And we also have Silverline, and we took all of these big IP technologies, we took Volterra and we took Shape, and we combined it together to give our customers highly effective application security cloud infrastructure that they can utilize to offer the protection, deployment at ease, and all the security related to that specific environment. So if we look at what the F5 distributed cloud as a service offer is DOS mitigation. It can provide a web application firewall. It can provide a bot defense and API security. And these are all related to application security. And then there's other services that we will also launch in due course, but there's a load balancer, there's DNS, there's application services and intelligence in application services. What it does provide is an end-to-end visibility and security in a deployment wherever the application needs to be deployed. So you can deploy the application in any cloud. You can deploy it on an on-premise infrastructure and an integration into CDNs if required. So one of the if we look at the Silverline and the Volterra, one of the offerings is layer 3 to layer 7 DDoS mitigation in the distributed cloud. But DDoS mitigation is from layer 3 to layer 7, and this is all coming from the Silverline and Volterra that we combine the best capabilities to provide DDoS mitigation. And this is to give you the protection on those layers. Now, the backbone that we have is more than 12 terabits per second. We have the interconnection with other cloud providers, and we have POPs. And as we add more POPs onto this the network, so will our backbone capacity increase. The platform can do quite a lot of DDoS mitigation for volumetric attacks. So this part of the DDoS mitigation is more related to volumetric attacks that you can offer or that the customer can sign up. The visibility is there's reporting tools for the DDoS mitigation. We can actually have a look where the attack originated from, and so sort of the actual throughput, the actual request rate, and the error rate that you can see coming in from those hosts and what is happening on a DDoS attack. The next component that is also part of the web is the web application firewall. Here we have as you all know, the ASM WAF, the signature-based identification and the behavior. And there's additional stuff that we also added into there is the API analysis and the behavior of that attack coming in. Is it an attack because due to of behavior coming in, or is it a human, or is it a bot as part of this as a standard deployment? The next generation firewall is the WAF that is part of this, and this is also giving you the capabilities for the signature-based and CVE-based attacks that we can detect and monitor and mitigate those attacks. And part of that, you can also add the IP reputation to this part of the WAF to give you that additional security on top of the normal WAF signature-based or behavioral-based attacks coming in. Then we can, the next part of the WAF, the WAP is the bot defense. A bot defense is twofold in our case. So we have a user behavior analysis and a signature-based bot detection. And these two we combine to give the best bot defense. So it gives not just looking at the behavior, and also looking at the signature of those bots. So if it's a good bot, bad bot, is it a human, is it a bot trying to access these APIs? And so we can provide the additional layers. We're taking two aspects into account. The API security is really for APIs. How do we look at the APIs? How do we discover these APIs? And sometimes it's very difficult to understand the APIs on the landscape. So we can discover those APIs, and we can provide you sort of a graphical interface to show you how those APIs look like, how they react, and it gives you the capability to block suspicious activities on these requests, and you have a option if you want to provide your own Swagger files if you want to provide that information to the system. So you can do lots of different things on the API. So we have the visualization on the API to show you the usage of the APIs. You can, like I said, you can import your Swagger file if you need to. And then also the forensics and the reporting is very important on those API calls that is made. If there's for some other reason APIs that you missed, we can also do a automated discovery to discover those API calls coming into the backend systems. So this is just a graphical interface, how you can see how the API that is discovered, how it looks like, the responses, and it gives you more insight into the APIs. So we're using AI and machine learning models to build this APIs for our customers. And they can drill down into each layer of these API calls if required. And as I mentioned, you can also, if you have the correct information from the DevOps team or the application owners, you can import the API Swagger file. Then it just gives you that better capabilities on the API securities from a WAF point of view. So the use cases that the F5 distributed cloud is to cater for is to streamline the security. We want to make sure that wherever the customer deploys the application, that we can mitigate attacks and vulnerabilities for those customers in those environments. So that can be in a hybrid, multi-cloud, on-prem, and to make sure that whatever they deploy, we can protect. We want to make sure that we can eliminate bot and fraud abuse and improve visibility for our customers in those environments. We want to make sure they can manage and secure APIs for challenges that they have. And we want to make sure that the application is agile for the development team. And we don't want security to be a bottleneck or a hindrance as the people deploy these applications in the environment. The deployment options is very flexible for the F5 distributed cloud, for the web as a service. So if we look at our network, we have regional edges. So that's the F5 global network. And like I said before, we have interconnect points with some of the cloud providers. And the regional edges is where we would do our volumetric attacks mitigation from. And you can then also interconnect to any other cloud provider if you require to do so. The customer edge is what we deploy on the customer edge. The customer edge can do all the security functionalities that is required, except for volumetric attack, because the customer edge will not have the capabilities to handle a volumetric attack. However, you still leverage the F5 global network, and you still have the same console, the same graphical user interface to manage your deployment and the services that you want to offer for those applications. The most deployments that we've seen that will happen is a hybrid, where you have, because of multi-cloud, you will have a regional edge that you connect to, and you'll have a customer edge that you run on-premise because of your data center or in the cloud where you need to run it. And in this environment, you can the offering is the same as everything that you would have done on a the regional edge, because now you have your own cloud connected to, or you can still connect to the cloud from F5. But this can give you the capabilities for WAF, the layer 3, layer 4 volumetric attacks that's coming in from the network side. Let's have a look at an example of a gaming customer. online gaming customer has a lot of customers that connect to it, and he needed to move some of the capabilities closer to the edge. So he uses quite a lot of cloud providers to accomplish that edge capabilities, and some CDN providers that he used. What he wanted to achieve is to have improvement for the clients connected to the gaming platform, but he also wanted to reduce the risk of moving all of these edge compute applications and to make sure that they are protected. So what he needed was a solution that can give him a single point and a single view of what is happening in his network. He wanted to make sure that whatever he delivers to the clients, that his security team and the networks team can know exactly what is happening without having to train and to understand what all the other networks are doing in those cloud providers. And so the solution is the F5 distributed cloud. So he could deploy multiple CEs connected to the regional edges, and that then brought the application closer to the clients that wanted to play the game. And part of that is that his exposure to attack surface is smaller, and the visibility, what is happening on the API calls, was also protected. So he had everything that he wanted from what we could ever offer him. It is important to understand that this offering is a self-service offering, and you can create tenants. So what the customer did is had tenants for network operations, and some of the tenants would do certain aspects of the deployment and the management and the visibility of those deployments. So the key differentiators for us as F5 and that our customers want with the multi-cloud deployments is efficiency and agility. So they wanted to deploy the applications in any cloud. They wanted to be sure that they are protected, and we offer that as part of the F5 distributed cloud. So they can deploy it in any cloud. They can deploy it on-prem. They can deploy it wherever they want to. This platform provides the capabilities that you can deploy it anywhere, and you have the security required. The options of the deployment, like I mentioned, you can deploy it wherever you want to. The most important part is a common platform. This is a common platform that you can deploy, and you have a single view for what is happening on your applications wherever you deploy those applications. I have quickly went through all this stuff, and this is the F5 distributed cloud. If there's any questions, please send them through, and we will provide the answers in due course. Neil, I think that's all from my side. I could just say thank you for everybody, and I know they're tired, and they will probably want to sign off.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much, sir. Really, really interesting. There will be a follow-up where you'll have an opportunity to download the content and have a look at this in your own time. So, Jack, thank you very much. And just to reiterate what Jack says, please do use the text chat in the top right-hand corner for any additional questions and comments. Okay, so finally, I'll pass over to Morris from Skybot Security. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Neil. It's a great pleasure to me to speak here on Westcon's Imagine, so we appreciate this partnership very much. I'll start my presentation right now, and I hope you can see everything. So, my name is Morris Becker. I'm Regional Director for Skybot Security and responsible for the business in Germany, in Austria, and in Switzerland. And I'm going to tell you who Skybox is, what Skybox does, and what Skybox brings for potential channel partners and for the end customer. So to show a few arguments that hopefully are interesting for you. So what do we do? In general, we can say we analyze, visualize, and minimize your IT and OT risk exposure. Or in other words, it's all about managing the attack surface, and that is connected to a lot of benefit. But what can explain more than many words? A little video does. And I've got a small video here for you, which explains in a few words very nicely how Skybox works.
With thousands of vulnerabilities on your network, how do you determine where your business is most exposed to a cyber attack? How do you zero in on exposure risks that, if breached, could devastate your business? And if you do find them, it's impossible to patch everything, and some exposures cannot even be patched. Stitching together more and more disparate security solutions doesn't work in today's complex hybrid world. And traditional detect and respond technologies are not good enough in light of today's sophisticated threat actors. It's time to establish an insight-driven, proactive approach to network security in order to prevent breaches before they happen. Imagine if your GPS map not only detected roads and routes, but also made you aware of potholes, faulty traffic lights, and fallen trees. This could prevent a lot of accidents. Only Skybox provides this level of insight into your security network architecture. Skybox creates a holistic view of your attack surface by collecting, centralizing, and normalizing data from a wide range of sources and from across all network domains. With this data, the Skybox Security Posture Management Platform enables you to model your entire hybrid, multi-cloud, and OT networks. You can then walk the path of an attacker to find exploitable vulnerabilities and correlate them with your unique network configurations and security controls to determine where you're exposed. Risk scoring enables you to determine how safe your assets are and what impact a breach could have on your business. You can then conduct exposure-based prioritization to identify vulnerabilities that present the highest risk to your organization. Customizable dashboards showcase all this insight and enable teams to collectively make decisions that reduce risk across the business. And your teams can then choose the optimal remediation options to reduce your exposure and business risk. With Skybox Security Posture Management Platform, you can make smarter decisions to minimize cybersecurity exposure and compliance risk, eliminate functional silos and achieve greater operational efficiencies across IT and security teams, automate security workflows so you can resolve cyber risks faster, and of course, maximize your security technology investments to improve your business resiliency. With Skybox Security, organizations can prevent breaches before they happen with a smarter, stronger, safer solution. Security made smarter with Skybox Security.
Yeah, thanks very much. This is all about the security posture management. And as we have seen here, we look into things much deeper as it is possible in most cases as of today. And why is it so important today? I mean, we have heard things about digital transformation. We all know that this is going on, and to many of us, it is an essential part of the business, of course. Cloud migration is something going on for years, and we all know that it will continue over the next couple of years. So that also means the infrastructure is getting more fragmented. Then we have the convergence between IT and OT, and we all know that the OT networks are often the more critical ones, but we also know that in terms of a security posture, we have to catch up in OT a lot. And we also face talent gap in the markets. I mean, if we are looking for cybersecurity specialists, I'm 100% sure that you all know that you can't get hold of such people in a reasonable number, and this is the same problem at the end customers. And at the same time, many end customers have invested a lot in cybersecurity, in their firewall environment, in their endpoint security, EDR environment, in their proxies, cloud proxies, and so on. But what is still often missing is an overview of the whole infrastructure and to see which ways through the infrastructure to the important and valuable assets are possible. And we at Skybox Security, we help with that. We have a platform which consists, on the one hand, on security policy and change management, and on the other side, of vulnerability management. And we summarize that as there is a big overlapping area where the one part is contributing intelligence to the other part and vice versa. So our platform can be the center of many important services that are typically set in front of a CM, I would say. We have heard in the video, so we avoid threats before they actually happen. And this is, if you compare it with a CM, where a good CM says at the very early stage, something is going on, tells you exactly what is going on and where, so that security teams are able to stop these threats from creating damages. We are a step before that. It means in all our activities, we minimize the potential of threats entering your not only network, but the whole infrastructure. And it is necessary for that to communicate with a lot of different vendors, from firewalls over proxies, over endpoints. So this is why we have to be compatible with over 150 relevant vendors in this field. And this is a key here. I want to give you an example of a use case so that you get a better idea how security policy management and vulnerability management interacts very well with each other. So let's assume that there is a hybrid network, and in most of the enterprises there are hybrid networks. There is a part of cloud already, there is still a part on premise, but often, as I said before, the overview of the whole infrastructure is missing. And such overview we are giving with all the information about rule sets of firewalls, of routing tables, of access control lists, and so on. We are able to model a network and visualize it. And in this slide, you can see part of a network where we also identified vulnerabilities. On the right top, you can see there is a development server with a vulnerability on it. And there is another, maybe the same kind of server in the finance department with the same vulnerability on it. And we are able now to identify that although it is the same vulnerability, we have a critical risk here as the whole thing is exposed. while the same vulnerability on the finance server is not. And the way we do it is with an attack path analysis that we can do. So on the left bottom here, you can see a potential attacker somewhere out in the web. And we can simulate what way this attacker could find to the assets that carry the vulnerabilities that we have identified. We can see here via a web server connected to the AWS infrastructure and different firewalls, we can see that a direct way is possible here to the development server. But we can also see that on the way to the finance server, there is an IPS signature on a firewall which neutralizes the identified vulnerability. And this is an example of how we add contextual information, as we do not only know about the vulnerability and how critical it is, we also know how exposed this asset is. That means how potentially an attacker could get to it. And this is a bit benefit which can not only be used for security reasons or for security purposes, like in this example, it works also the other way around. If a connection from A to B should be done in your environment and it doesn't work, then often the network people start to investigate, okay, why is this connection not being established? And they start to investigate routing tables, firewall rule sets, and all that stuff. And that takes ages in complex environment that can take days to find that. And in one click here, we can show exactly where it is blocked, where the connection is not going through, and you can dive into and solve that problem. This was a quick intro about what we do, how we do it, how it can look like. And now I want to give you a bit more commercial and business-like information about a potential partnership with Skybox Security. So particularly as a channel partner, what benefits can you expect? But what are the benefits for your end customers as well? And what way forward is there, like enablement sessions, which are also part of Westcon's offer for Skybox Security that you can easily access and use. Channel partner benefits, but let me come to the last point here, sustainability. This is really something which we do not say. This is something that we live, and you can see it in an interesting number. Skybox Security is celebrating its 20th anniversary as of today. I guess many people have not thought about it, but we are around for 20 years. So in the area where we are active, the attack surface management, we really are mature and have a long experience. So that means we solve the most complex problems that customers are facing today within cybersecurity. And if you, as a partner, solve complex problems, that means your rank, your importance in the account is increasing, or also call it relevance. Average deal sizes, a typical deal size is 250K, where it starts with. And of course, depending on size of the infrastructure and the customer, also deals of 1 million or higher are not seldom. So it is really relevant stuff where with a bit of investment, you can easily access new fields of revenues. We have a really clean deal rec process, and we are 100% channel company. This is really something I want to underline here. So no deal, I'm speaking for EMEA, of course, is going any other way than via distribution and a channel partner to the end customer. And for that, a very clear and fair direct process, very transparent one, is in place. There is very good land and expand potential, as typically if we start with a customer, and when we are talking about an average deal size of over 200K, typically we will have an upsell soon, within a year or even shorter. So with Skybox, you can not only do relevant one-shot deals, but it's often the entry of a long-term revenue stream. And typically, I mentioned it before, our platform is interacting with a lot of different security vendors. So it is highly implemented. That also means that the risk for being replaced is relatively small. And you get in touch also to many other different security parts. If you do not deliver them already to the customer, you can, of course, also increase your knowledge and footprint in the account. What is also often the case is that we are the glue between IT and OT. We heard about OT networks, and particularly when it comes to vulnerabilities where proactive scans in OT networks are not wanted or not possible, our technology is particularly of importance, and we really can combine security policy and change management, as well as vulnerability management for both IT and OT. The integration with many vendors, as said, is a very natural and quick upsell potential. Also, the scalability is very important. Many of you might have not heard of Skybox Security before, although we are in the market for nearly 20 years. That is also the case that in the past, Skybox was a very exclusive solution for very complex infrastructures and networks. But from that, it also results that our scalability is high. So in the biggest environments that requires highest performance and where many different security modules are in place, we can play a very good and performant and central role. So it's absolutely enterprise grade, and we are serving some of the world's largest customers with some of their largest networks. And we are talking about a total addressable market here by 20 billion by 2027. This is security and vulnerability management. And let's say that the new big buzzword, the risk attack surface management alone by this time, guys like Forrester say that there is a TAM of 5 billion for that part alone. So there's definitely business to get. And the time is now where people start to look at the holistic attack surface, how they can manage it, how they can really analyze and visualize it and minimize it to decrease the potential in a structured and defined way. And that's the big difference of the past, where most of the companies did more or less best efforts here. The customer benefit. So a little bit connected to land and expand is start small and quick. and get a fast time to value. So when we are talking about the security use cases that we cover, we typically start with a few small ones where the value can be very realized quickly, so that the customer confirms, oh yes, this investment paid off. It saves a lot of time in our NOC and SOC teams, and we got results quickly. And this is a guarantee for continuous revenue then. So that is important point here. Also, vendor consolidation is possible here. I talked about that our platform combines security policy and change management, as well as vulnerability and threat management at the same time. If customers were advanced enough really to do both already, there's a potential of consolidation, and working with one vendor here instead of 3 or 4 even often makes it easier, not only by the aspect of the price, but also by reducing the complexity. Big time gains. I gave the example of the network modeling that helps you to analyze potential attack paths, but also errors in ways within the network to be identified. And that is really the case, that there are examples where work of days can be really reduced to minutes, and you see which ways are possible. As shown in the video, like in Google Maps, you say, okay, I want to go from A to B, show me the potential or the possible ways. It really works like that. Compliance often is a big driver, talking about customers in finance, in healthcare, to display the compliance, to investigate the compliance of rule sets, for example, can be done very effectively and fastly. And afterwards, if an audit is coming up, being able to prove the compliance very quickly, it also helps there a lot. And teams that today fight against an overwhelming number of vulnerabilities which are there, with our context that we contribute, so that we get a sense out of an overwhelming number of the vulnerabilities that are really critical as they are even exposed. That really is making the work for SOC teams much easier, saves them time, and often gives them a structured way of working on the vulnerabilities the first time since existing. Troubleshooting already mentioned, so you can see there are many benefits you can bring to the customer, but at the same time, as we are a pure channel company, there are many benefits that we want you to realize. So please feel free and invited. And with more content on Skybox Security, like a partner enablement session, we are very welcoming you. We hope that you join, and you will get much more information about the potential certification, what it requires, and what benefits you can also get from that. And whenever somebody is interested and wants to learn more or sign up to become a Skybox partner, we welcome you. And our very high value distribution partner, Westcom, of course, welcomes you as well. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Boris. Great presentation. Love the video. And obviously, congratulations on your anniversary. What it would be like to be 20 again.
I feel like it.
Yeah, well, that's good. I don't. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So, just a quick wrap up now. So, thank you again to Yofi, Jacques, and Maurice for today's breakout presentations. Really much appreciated. So, just to close, I'd encourage you in the minutes you've got left at this year's Imagine to visit the virtual booths. If you haven't already, chat live with members of the team, download the content. To also continue with your virtual treasure hunt, the opportunity to win that latest smartphone. The more you explore around the booth, the greater the chance. And finally, just to make sure that you register through Imagine Realize sessions, which will allow you to deep dive into some of the content that you've seen today and over the last 3 days. So it's an opportunity for you to digest everything that you've heard over the last 3 days. So with that said, the last action for you guys is to go back to the auditorium where there will be the final partner awards starting at wherever you are in the world, 6 minutes or 5 minutes to the hour. So you've got about 8 to 9 minutes before that kicks off. So quick bio break. Or as I said, visit the virtual booths. And it remains me to say thank you. Thank you for attending this year's Imagine. Thank you for attending this breakout session. And obviously, thank you for your partnership. We look forward to working with you in 2022 and beyond. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. We'll be in touch.